Right, now we're going to look at another effect called the beat repeat. So the beat repeat is exactly what it says. It repeats a beat back at us. Basically, it's a really cool little automated tool that's a lot of fun to play with. And essentially what we can do with it is send a signal in, and then it will just chop and slice that signal up, making it sound a little bit glitchy. So a lot of times when people use beat repeat, they chuck it on the drums and it just creates a little bit of variation on the drum beat that we have. So it's a really quick and effective way of creating interesting drum rhythms without having to program it all in ourselves. So over here in the signal chain, I've got my drum kit and then I've got my beat repeat. So without the beat repeat, let's just listen to the drum beat. Okay, so that's our drum beat. Now if I add a beat repeat on, let's have a listen to what it actually does. So you can hear there's all these stuttering effects and glitchy effects happening, or sounds coming in underneath the underneath the original drum beat. So let's have a look at some of these parameters that we can play around with, and then you'll be able to use this in your own production. So here we go. First thing that I will show you is this filter section. So the filter section is exactly like all the other filter sections on other plugins that we've looked at. It essentially takes a signal and equalizes out certain frequencies. Okay, I can go for a, if I grab the node and move it around, I can go for more of a low pass effect where you can see it's letting all the low frequencies through. If I take it up this side, you can see this is more of a high pass frequency effect. It could be more of a band pass, just depending on how you position the node across here. So that you can hear it, the differences between the original drum beat and the affected beat repeat, I'm going to apply quite a heavy filter to it, but I really don't like going too crazy with filtering. I prefer it to be a bit more of a natural sound, so quite often I'll use this effect without the filter applied to it at all, so I'll just disengage it completely. Okay, so the first thing that we should look at is over here, the chance. So chance is exactly that. We can dial up how much of a percentage or a likelihood that the beat repeat will catch as part of the drum beat and repeat it back and make it all glitchy. Okay, so I could have it on 100% chance, so I know that it's going to catch part of the drum beat in every single bar. Okay, obviously we want to make it a bit more subtle and not maybe so obvious, so having chance set around 50 to 60, maybe 70% is kind of where I generally set it. You might like to have it just every now and then throw in something, so you might have it dialed down even lower. Okay. The next thing that we should look at would be the grid. Now if I wind the grid right back, you can see these little slices appear on the yellow lines through here. Now essentially what this is indicating is the segments of the audio that it's going to slice. Now we've looked at the timeline and how to sequence a drum beat, and we've identified the subdivisions in a bar. So essentially that's what this is subdividing each beat and telling us how much of that beat will be sliced up and glitched back. So if I have it all the way back to this subdivision, it's going to sound really buzzy when it repeats it back. So let's have a listen to that. You can hear that it's really quite buzzy. If I increase the gridded amount, then it will kind of have a bit more of a glitch sound. See, it sounds almost like the cymbal's just been hit a few more times when it caught the hi-hat cymbal. So the grid is a good one to play around with. The variations, so this basically will dial up a certain amount of variation on the parameters that are played back. So it's not going to, if we have it at 0, then it will not vary from the parameters we set. if I wind up the variation, then it's going to deviate from our parameters. I like to have a high variation on it because then it kind of creates a bit more of an organic sort of feel to it. So if I wind the variation up, you might hear some variation in the pitch of the sound being repeated back, the grid, the interval, and the way that it's repeated. Let's have a listen. So you could hear there, it was the first time we heard the beat repeat, it was in line with what we set, okay, with our grid. But then the second time it repeated, you heard it buzz. So it was almost like I cranked this all the way down to make it really buzzy. Okay, so that's what variation does. So we've got chance, which is the chance for the beat repeat to actually activate, and then variation. How closely will the effect follow your parameters that you're deciding to set? The pitch, so this, if I change it, it's got -6 semitones. So this basically will mean that it will start pitching down as it repeats. So let's have a listen to that. Okay, you can hear that when it repeats, it's at a different pitch. We can have the pitch decay as well, so that'll change how it happens. So you can hear it's kind of ramping down, okay, it's dropping down in pitch. So that's an interesting and kind of cool effect that we can use. So they are the main parameters. Probably the last thing that you can work on is over here on the right hand side, the mix, insert and gate. So this basically just defines how the beat repeat will be played back. So with mix, what it's doing is it's being layered over the top of the original sound. So we've been listening to that. If we go to insert, now what will happen is we'll insert the sound in place of. Okay, so let's listen to that, how it sounds different. So you can hear the effect is being played and it's actually cutting out the original signal. So it's flicking either to the beat repeat signal or the original signal. If we go to gate, let's have a listen to how that works. So gate basically means you're not going to hear the original signal source, it will only play back the beat repeat. So depending on what you want out of your effects, depends on what you might select there. So this is just a very simple run through how you might use the beat repeat. You can use it on all sorts of different instruments, from bass guitar through to piano riffs and things like that. It's a great tool to play with to insert a little bit of variation and randomness into your mix. And there's tons of tutorials out there on YouTube. So once you've gone through this tutorial, have a bit of a play around and then see how other DJs and producers are using this effect in their mix. So enjoy playing with that.